You're listening to the Broadway Podcast Network.
So much of what you learn comes from failure. You want to be failing, like, how can I continue to fail differently instead of failing in the same way? Like, what can be my next mistake that I can make so that I can grow and learn? Like, until you're really used to falling down, it can really suck.
Hi, everyone. Welcome to Was It Chance, the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. I'm your host, Heather Vickery, and I'm right here at home in Chicago.
And I'm Alan Seals, and I'm your other host, and I am in Turks and Caicos right now, and I'm outside trying to find reliable Wi-Fi so we can do this recording, and it's pouring rain. So if you hear soothing rain noises, then that's what that is. Anyway, Heather and I are two perfect strangers. Well, we were two perfect strangers. Now we're like podcast besties. And we embraced opportunity and created this wonderful podcast. So listen along as we talk to other creatives about how they put themselves on the path to creative success. I just pulled that out of my ass. You like that?
You just made it up. You've got it all memorized. Well done, Alan Seals. Well done. Okay, I am so excited. We have laughed. We've actually been on this interview now for a solid 15 minutes, laughing so hard that we couldn't even record and losing, Alan in a tropical rainstorm. But today we are welcoming Christina Lynn Connelly, aka Dangerbot, which she requested specifically that I say. Listen to that laugh. It's amazing. There's so much joy. Christina is a voiceover artist, comedian, an animal lover, a fitness buff, and an improviser. She has an incredibly funny Instagram account. That's the @Dangerbot. And she's bursting with so much creative talent that it simply can't be contained. But here's where it gets extra fascinating. Christina has a line of anatomically correct vagina plushies. Yes, I did just say vagina plushies. Yes, I did.
Yes, you did say
plushies.
Which you
can see, and quite frankly, you must see that XOXO felt like love. That's the Instagram. XOXO felt like love.
Yeah.
So listen, I've been talking about creative and success. Holy shit, Christina, welcome to Was It Chance?
Hi.
So roundabout. So talk about like embracing random chance and opportunity. So Christina and I both took a voiceover class from the same teacher, Deb Sperling, and we just happened to randomly get in this like, hey, alumni after hours meetup, which was just cool in and of itself. And so then when we told each other about, we all like said a little bit about what we did. So I was like, this lady is so incredibly amazing. I need to know more about her. And so I said, as soon as I found XOXO felt like love, I was like, that's it. We have to have her on this podcast. So here we go.
Okay, listen, I want to know all the things about you, Christina, and I think we're going to get there. But we have got to start with how the fuck you decided to create anatomically correct vagina plushies. How and why?
The how and the why. That's what.
Which is what most men want to know about anatomically correct vaginas anyway. Us lesbians, we get it.
So funnily enough, so I studied sculpture and painting as an art student in my undergrad. And I ended up being really obsessed with like biology, human biology and anatomy as my subject, and specifically organs and anatomically correct sort of grotesque subject matters and cadaver parts and things like that. And I got really interested.
I got eyebrow raised. Like if I had 3 eyebrows, they'd all be raised right now.
I got really obsessed with female anatomy along the way. And I felt like it was an area that was so taboo. And I really hated that there weren't enough conversations sort of creating spaces for females and young women to feel comfortable with their bodies as they are. and especially young girls. We were talking earlier about referring to our vaginas as monkeys and yonis and
hoo-has and JJs and
peepees and and not really knowing what's going on down there and feeling weird about it and shameful about it if it doesn't look like somebody else's does. And it was just, there are so many like just secrets about it. And so at some point along the way, I was like, I'm going to start making a bunch of art that like vagina art and butthole art. I made teacups that have little buttholes in the bottom so that whenever you finish your tea and you lift it up, it's a tiny little butthole.
That's amazing. Are those for purchase? Because I want to send that to and be like, what's up, asshole?
I know I should have brought that in. I actually have one in my dining room. I should have brought it over here. So I used to do a lot of ceramics and mixed media art. But when I was living in New York, I had a small studio space. And it didn't really allow for a lot of like tools and materials and equipment. And so I decided to start making sculpture from fabric. And so it was a totally different medium. And I used to do like animals, stuffed animals that look like people's pets. And I started doing, other organ pillows for cancer survivors and things like that. And then randomly as a joke, I decided to design a vagina plushie to send to a friend of mine that lived in LA as just a joke. I mailed it to them without any warning.
Yes.
Just here's a vagina plushie in the mail.
Opening a package.
And
that reminds me, I received this in the mail a year or so ago. So my client Barbie, if you are listening, I'm going to make you listen to this. She received one of these in the mail, and they're anonymous always. And I'm going to show the people who can look. Can you see that? That is a giant, solid chocolate dick, and inside all it says is "eat a dick."
Oh my god! It is so good. It's like rainbow colors.
They have all sorts of different designs, but they all are big, solid chocolate dicks, and they say "eat a dick," and they can only be sent anonymous. You cannot put a name on them.
That is hilarious.
Wow.
That is
so if any of you ever get one,
is so good.
It's for me.
That is so good.
Okay,
so oh my god!
So you mailed the vajayjay in the mail. And
vagina, Alan. We're not afraid of real words here. It's a vagina.
Okay, you mailed the vagina in the U.S. Postal Service.
I mailed my vagina to a friend. and so then it was they've kind of developed over the course of the years that I've been making them, but the first one was the very first that I sent to that friend, and then like a few other people saw pictures of it and they were like, I want one. And then it was like, I want one. And over the years, I just started making more and more vagina plushies and less of everything else. And now it's like, that's what I do. I make vagina plushies.
That's amazing.
But the funny thing is that like, going into it, I had already considered going into it in the birth of my vagina plushies. I had to really, I wanted to look.
We're like,
vaginas are like snowflakes. And so you want to be able to make all these different types of vaginas to represent all the different kinds of vaginas there are out there. And so I had books laid out across the studios late at night as an art student, studying vaginas and playing with different mock-ups of different types of vaginas and labia and what it looks like for vaginas to have babies coming out of them and all kinds of stuff. And I just remember the nighttime janitors walking through and peeking their heads in, looking at me with all these giant books laid across the table, just like pictures of vaginas. And let me tell you, if you try to Google search what certain types of vaginas look like, it is not a good
right. You're hitting every porn site out there.
You don't want to look up what certain, because I only have my own vagina. So I only know what, I have my vagina and some of the other vaginas I've seen in real life. So I was like, what does this kind of vagina look like? And so how do you look for that? how do you look for that without seeing a whole bunch of porno? Well, I had to skim through
Wow.
a lot of.
Okay.
Or just
so
have really comfortable and close friendships.
Yeah, I mean, just collect all sorts of different types of friends so that you're like, oh, you look like you'd have an interesting looking vagina.
Could I look at your vagina? It's just
would you mind? Yeah, I mean, like, can I take you out for tea and then you can show me your vagina?
Now, see, us lesbians, we try that approach a lot.
You put an ad in the paper, like at an art studio.
That's what it means.
At an art school, right? Can't you find like there's nude models and things? Yeah. Aren't there? Like, this is for art.
Yeah.
Let me plushify you, and then you get the first one. First one's on me.
Oh, and I am so sure if I wanted to put an ad out, I would get so many amazing characters that would come out of the woodworks to show me their vaginas. I am so sure.
And then she hasn't, so there's a reason.
And I haven't done that. I used to have a nude model that would model for us a lot. That she was amazing, and I wish I would have actually made contact with her, but I never actually spoke to this woman. But she modeled for us so many times, and she had full piercings across every surface area of her vagina, as so much so that it would dangle and hang and clink around. And I remember just I could tell when she was coming down the hallway because I could hear the jingle jangle of her labia smacking together.
Is that Scrooge? Oh no, that's Suzanne.
Wow. Okay. Wow.
No, Jacob Marley. I messed up my metaphor.
Okay. So that felt like a pretty amazing chance opportunity. Like, you saw this opportunity, you were chasing something else. You were, I'm curious. I want to learn more. I couldn't get my hands on the supplies. So I switched to my textile, like all of that. And then you embrace chance to create this as a business. What does that look like as a business? And how, and how do people use the like, is it just, so, it started out I guess really the birth of it was me just being really curious in exploring a topic that made people really uncomfortable, which was typically what my art was. Is I really enjoyed taking things that, and not just also with my comedy stuff and my improv, I like taking things that sometimes could be uncomfortable and making it fun. And I like taking things like vaginas, things that make people uncomfortable, and make it cute and appealing and fun to play with, And so I want, and so I was curious how to explore this more, and then making a joke, it ended up being a business, and it took a totally different turn than what I expected. So I ended up getting into the market of birthing community. Okay, I could see that.
Mainly. So a huge portion of folks that purchase these from me are OBGYNs and birthing coaches and doulas and midwives, and so I started making these for their offices, and they use them as teaching tools for their groups and sex education classes. And now, parents are buying them to talk to their children about vaginas and their anatomy for the first time. And I always do try to put it out there that, like, these are anatomical, artistic representations of an anatomically correct vagina, because obviously this pocket only goes so deep. And normally I use little pearls. I'm showing everyone. You guys can't see it, but I'm showing them the vagina. But the clitoris, usually I use little pearls underneath the hood. Wow. But but I make these customizable, so everyone is for the most part made to order. Occasionally I will sell things that I've already pre-made, but I do like to make them to order so that people can customize color schemes and things like that they want in different types of fur options that I have, or lack of fur. But this particular person wanted to buy one, and if she listens to this, she'll be so excited. She wanted to purchase one to talk to her young children about their bodies, and she was like, can I have a pink fabric piece for the clitoris instead of the pearl that you use, so that when they're looking at themselves, they're not looking for some shiny white pearl down there? And I said, okay, that's fine, we can do that. So it's just a cute little pom-pom down there.
What's one of the weirdest requests you've ever had?
It's just,
oh man, it goes on and on. I mean, the weird requests, I'm always like, really? I am intrigued by the fact that you feel so comfortable to ask me as a complete stranger to do this for
what's
you.
like one of the weirdest ones?
I get a lot of people asking me to do these like part penis, part vagina, testicle, boob, anamorphic sort of sculptures this is a very popular thing right now.
but is it because of non-binary or trans folks and they want to be represented in all the ways, or is it a fetish thing?
No, they'll send me pornographic photos, and I do get some penis requests. I definitely get some penis requests. But typically it is the strange combination of, I want these breasts to be attached to this vagina and penis, all kind of blah blah, or vaginas that you can have sex with. That's a huge one that I get requests for.
Do you say yes?
And I'm like,
no.
That's
okay,
not really what they're for. Yeah. So I'll explain. These are for visual, visual tools and art. These are for art, to be used as art pieces, for display, not for physical use. And I even have to put like in the care instructions for them, like, please handle with care. If you can spot clean, but they're not intended to be put through a washer, and like, or you shouldn't get them
don't
wet.
Put your
like,
bodily
I
fluids
have
on them. Yeah.
Right. I have to actually put this on my website information and my shop and everything in the item descriptions, so that I can be really clear that these are not meant to be used as sex tools. And it's like, if that's what you want to do, that's fine. But like, if you're going to do that to one of my pieces, like, do it at your own risk and know that I'm not responsible, that you just ruined.
Well, and listen, there are things for folks who want to do that. That's totally fine. But yours is a teaching tool.
And that's fine. It's a teaching tool, or it's a piece of art that you put on your shelf or your, couch. It's not for using.
Right, just add the tagline, it's to rest your head, not give you head.
Oh
yes.
my God.
Yes, they're so soft, and they're so soft
Ellen.
and warm. And you do. But yeah, I do get a lot of requests, like really straightforward, like, can I have sex with it? Can I do this to it? Will it let me do that to it? And I'm like, no.
It's sort of like the furry from the furry community.
There is some furry community, interest, for sure. Well, and I make them, so I do all sorts of different types of them, and I have some that have funny names, like the blue unicorn with teeth, and the mermaid, the Little Mermaid, and Professor Plum, and but one of them. The unicorn one the furry one has all kinds of bright color, sort of pastel rainbow color fur, and like big giant teeth, and it's like huge and very furry, and has like purple and teal colors, and it's really fun. And so like a lot of furry people are like, oh yeah, furry, can you make me a stuffed animal that has a vagina attached to it that I can use? No, I don't. I'm not doing that. Like,
yeah.
Hey, VPN fam, Tony Howell here, host of the Tony Howell podcast, and I've got some questions for you. How many email addresses do you have? How many unread messages? If it is time for a tune-up, I'd invite you to check out our all-new self-paced course, Email Excellence Part 1, Pro Operations, letting AI become your new assistant. We have a limited time promotion running in April, and you can learn more at joinemailexcellence.com.
I mean, as a woman and as a mom of daughters, I really appreciate this idea that literally they're like snowflakes. Everyone's vagina is different.
Yes.
Yours is just right. Like there's nothing weird or wrong or broken about it. And being able to teach that and use the language. And we're so weird society wise about not wanting to use anatomically correct words. Christina, we could talk about your vagina plushies all day long, but
talk about my vagina
I mean, you are a creative. You are an artist in every possible way. And I'm so curious to know what other things in your life has chance presented to you as an artist, as a creative that you've had some fun with.
So outside of I guess I do a lot of other mixed media type art as well, but something that I get more and more into is, being a creator with film and with voiceover. But in that, like through the pandemic, specifically when COVID hit, a lot of things about my life changed. And I was just at the beginning of sort of taking some big leaps in my life as an actor, and doing a lot of commercial work and photography work and things. And I had a lot of big projects that were lined up that then all of a sudden came to a screeching halt.
Yeah. You and so many other people.
Everybody, the world, And I was like, oh man, which this is a whole nother story, but I started out early, and then I kind of stopped doing a lot of the things that I love for a very long time in my life. And because I just really didn't have the courage to do what I wanted to be doing. And then I got older, and I realized that time is so short and fleeting, and I wanted to just start taking more chances in my life and start doing things that make me happy. And then COVID happened, and then I was like, oh, I have all this great stuff that's about to happen, and now what do I do? And I can't do anything, and I'm stuck in my house, and I don't know where to go or what to do or who to talk to. And so then I was like, oh, but I know how to edit film, and I know how to work a camera, and I know how to record audio, and I know how to write jokes. And I'm like, I'm just going to like do some weird stuff for the next 2 years and see what happens.
And who gets to define what's weird anyway, right? Art is subjective. Yeah.
So, well, and I love sort of identifying myself as being, I love referring to myself as being a weirdo, because I just, who even knows what that means? But I like the fact that people just don't ever know what to expect from me, and they never know what might happen if they're in a room with me.
I love that too.
And usually anything that I am a part of ends up going sideways in some way or another. So
just like this wonderful interview. No, I'm kidding.
Yeah. So I have learned so much through this time that I had no idea this was going to be this great opportunity for me to grow as an artist during COVID, and really, improving my skills to be able to do so many things on my own without the help of other people doing this and other people doing that, and directing my own things, and just creating content and using it as a way to connect with people. And it has been such an amazing experience. And I have met so many amazing people over the last 2 years that I would have never thought that would have happened because of this. And the vagina orders just keep coming and coming and coming.
No pun intended.
Wow.
But yeah. And I honestly, I have to put the Vagina Plushies. It's been interesting because I've had to put limits on how many orders I can take at a time, because I'm just my own person making them. And I'm trying to pursue voiceover and still doing all the other things that I do. And, but I want to keep making these vaginas. And so I have to like set limits for how many I can make though, because I'll spend days and days just elbow deep in pussy, and it's like, what am I doing with my life?
And
God,
then
that's
you go
Alan's
make,
dream job.
then, it was like, and then you go start making the plushies.
Oh my God.
I mean, and I can make them real fast these days, but it's crazy. I mean, I actually do have a few friends that now help me, like make the beginning stages of them, like cutting pieces and stuff. So it's like, I have everything ready to go and I can just make them faster and stuff so I can try to meet demand while I'm still trying to do all this other stuff I want to do. So, I mean, in long term, I may look at creating a version of them that's a little bit easier to make so that I can do like a faster production and teach other people how to make them, and make them maybe a more affordable option, but then still have the customizable handmade ones. 'Cause these are completely made by hand.
Wow.
I don't use a machine because the fabrics, the way that they come together, it's so and with the thick fabrics and stuff that I use, a machine just can't handle it. And so I do everything by hand, and it's really crazy.
I have to give Alan
But,
some very serious props for not making every single joke he wants to make right now. I do.
I'm trying to skim off the top a little bit. Yeah. Looking back at where you thought you would be pre-pandemic, you said you were going through a bit of an existential crisis, if I'm paraphrasing correctly. So. Then COVID hits. All these projects you have line up just sort of drop out from under you. If COVID had not happened, where do you think you would be now?
Oh, I feel like there are so many beautiful people in my life that I have right now that I wouldn't even know. And I don't think that we would be having this conversation. I'm not sure. I'm not sure if I would have met Deborah at the right time. There are a lot of projects that I've had the opportunity to do over the last year. I've got several short little indie films that are going to be coming out soon that happened during the pandemic.
That's awesome.
That I paired up with other artists and stuff to do. And I got to do some voiceover work for an audio drama that'll be the season will be coming out soon. And I did that during the pandemic. It's so many things that I don't even know. I mean, I guess I would have done some other projects, but it's so hard to go down that path of what could have happened,
Don't do that.
But I love where I'm at. And it's just, I feel so grateful that something that has been a tragedy has also created so many, opportunities for me to grow and challenges, so many things that were really, really hard. And I went through some hard times. I went through some depressing times, straight up rolling myself up into a burrito in my bed and not wanting to leave for days, just not wanting to like do anything, not knowing what I should do. And, I pulled through it because there was just so much community just coming around, just like kind of enveloping me during this really hard time. And so many people that are in my immediate community right now, especially in voiceover, have like mentored me and taken me under their wing and like watched over me. And all of this has happened. I met them all during the last 2 years.
I will say that despite all of the horrible, horrible things that have happened due to the pandemic, artist-wise, creativity-wise, it really helped a lot of people see possibility or pursue dreams or chase things.
It sort of forced a reimagining of how we normally do things.
Absolutely. I mean, absolutely. You have to think, well, how can I look at this differently, or how else can I do this?
Do you feel like it also helped people in general, but you sort of redefine what it means to fail?
Oh, yes. Oh my gosh. Yes. I mean, you guys know that so much of what you learn comes from failure.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, you want to be failing. Like, how can I continue to fail differently instead of failing in the same way? Like what can be my next mistake that I can make, you know, so that I can grow and learn? Like, it is so important, and it hurts to it, you know, it can, until you're really used to falling down, it can really suck. You know, but the more you fall, the more you get
that
used
leads
to it.
to the, I guess, the improvisation, the improv side of life, because you're an improviser, right? So
yes.
it's all the yes and you know, the best people who are in this field, and it sounds like yourself included, obviously are just very much like, well, all right, it's not a failure, it's just not where I expected to go, but now I'm gonna pivot. We'll use that word again. I'm pivoting in a different direction.
Yeah, pivot. Yes, and that's the fun thing about doing improv, especially in front of a live audience, is that you are firsthand, you are seeing what if what you're doing is like vibing with the audience, and you know, if you're accomplishing what you're setting out to accomplish, and then you can kind of pivot, you know, and change directions, and that's great. It's just not, sometimes a certain thing is just not meant for that moment. And you just are pivoting, you know, and you're learning and you're adapting, and it's in real time, and you're getting to like have an audience to tell you, is this one right? Is this what is working? You know what I mean? And it's, and just giving you that energy, and it's great. And you get to go to really fun places that you didn't think that you could go.
It's touching into a lot of your authenticity, your authentic self as well, because it's
absolutely.
I mean, it goes back to acting. You don't want to act, in air quotes. You want to be in the moment. And I think in good improv as well, you're being truthful. You're just saying what in the moment should come next. And because normally you're building off an outrageous scenario anyway, what you say next, what comes next is already just outrageous, which lends itself to being funny.
Right.
It's just not saying something funny to tell a joke.
Right.
Christina, I'm curious because it's so gutsy. I find you to be, and I love the word gutsy. It's one of my defining words.
I like that too. Yeah.
What is your relationship with fear? Because I mean, I think as an artist in general, we have to be like, well, fuck it. But to think about these plushies and what people are going to think or what they're going to say or all of that.
Oh,
like,
man.
What is your relationship with fear?
So I definitely feel fear. And sometimes I know that if I feel fear, then that I'm where I should be.
Yes.
You know, like if I feel afraid, then something great's about to happen. Usually every time I get a lot of social anxiety, before I, know I'm about to go into a situation where I'm going to talk to new people, meet, you know, have new social experiences. And, I have to like force myself in, you know, shove myself through the door. And then when I get there, I'm like, this is amazing. I'm here. I've arrived. You know, but all the way up, I'm like, ooh, I don't know if I should do this, you know. And I always know, and it always ends up being great every time I'm afraid to do something, because if I'm not afraid, if I'm not just a little bit afraid, then I'm not sure, you know,
you're not pushing really yourself.
Is this important? Is this really that important to me? You know, and with the plushies and with my art, with my content, I want it to have merit. I want it to have, I want it to be beneficial, not just to myself, but to other people. And sometimes telling the truth about something and shining light in a place that is, you know, I guess in need of light, you know, going to a place that people are afraid to go to, you know, to help them to get there, you know, and, you know, finding creative and fun ways to bring people into those places, you know, to get them thinking more about things that maybe they're afraid to think about it, or they haven't thought about the fact that they've never thought about it.
Well, that's what good art is going to do. And so, good art will make you think outside the box and break out of your sled paths. You know, like use the analogy of sliding down a hill. You're going to go over the same path over and over again. How do you pour a fresh coat of snow on the mountain or the hill to form some new paths? Right. And so I think this goes back again to what you were saying just a second ago about basically like if you're scared, something good's going to happen. And I think part of that is if you're not scared, you're comfortable. If you're comfortable, that means you basically have already decided what's going to happen. And therefore you're not open to the perception and or letting things happen in real time. You're just trying to create an outcome.
Yes. Yeah. And it does get, and I do feel like it does get easier to take those risks over time. The more you do it, for sure. You guys know.
Absolutely.
I mean, it's like
a muscle.
once you rip the Band-Aid off, once you have one baby, you're not as afraid to have a second
lie.
baby.
By the time you're in labor again, you're like, why the did I say I was going to do this?
Why did I do this?
There's actually, interestingly enough, if you're going to biologically, that's kind of true, right? Like when your child turns typically right around 14, 16 months, they're sleeping through the night. Women, like we are physiologically designed to forget the trauma of childbirth and having a small child.
So you're willing
to do it again. Like we're anthropologically designed that way. But then when the labor starts, you're like, what the fuck? Why did I do this?
You're like, well, fuck. Shit.
When I was having my fourth baby, the doctor laughed at me. She's like, why are you crying? You have done this 4 times. I'm like, because this shit hurts. That's why.
It sucks. I forgot. This sucks.
Jesus.
Why am I doing this?
Yeah, I can totally relate. I totally understand.
Yeah, I'm sure you do.
I fell down and I had a real bad cut once.
Oh.
Yeah.
Or every time you have to have a big food baby, you're just like, man, why did I?
Oh my goodness. Christina, have you faced much rejection with your art? And if so, how do you process through rejection?
Definitely judgment.
Okay.
Initial judgment, negative reactions. I don't know if I've had a lot of rejection necessarily. I mean, I'm sure there are people that choose to look away.
Like, has the Westboro Baptist Church picketed your Etsy?
Do you have any hater trolls or anything? Yeah.
I definitely had a lot of experiences where I have had to explain myself. And sometimes I'm like, I just don't want to explain myself anymore. Like, I just let me do this. But the vagina thing really is like, there's no beating around the bush. I have to just talk, like people are just like, why do you make those, and like people often are just like, I don't understand the vagina thing. And so I actually made a long video and I called it The Why. And I posted it on my social media and stuff, and I showed this enormous vulva plushie that I did that was like covered in fur. And I talked about why I make them. And it helped so many people to understand that it's not just that I'm a pervert. I am sort of a pervert, but that's not why I make them.
You're in good company.
But like explaining it and letting people know that it was to sort of empower women and their bodies, or people with vaginas, I should say, human beings that happen to have vaginas. I wanted to highlight that and have conversations about it and empower people to feel comfortable with themselves and for young people to feel comfortable talking about their bodies and to not be ashamed of something that is a part of their normal human body, like an elbow, and so whenever I started having that conversation, more people came around. But it's still a constant conversation that I have to have, because people's initial response, especially if you're from a more conservative background, is why? Like, why? What is is this for sex? Like, is this a sex toy, or like what? Like, automatically they're thinking all these things about me, right? That I am just this vagina obsessed, creepy weirdo artist who just loves pussies. And I do love.
Like, they're not wrong.
But
there's nothing wrong with that.
And they're not wrong, but that's not why I'm doing it. Yeah, they're not wrong.
Two things can be true at the same time. Yeah,
that's right.
Yeah,
that's right. And so, and especially whenever I start talking about the fact that doctors buy these from me, and birthing coaches buy these from me, and sex educators use these to teach people, and lots of doctors have these in their offices. And so whenever they're like looking at it in that context, they're like, oh, okay, okay. But, I want to get to a point where I don't have to say that for it to be okay.
Absolutely.
You've got a specific outward appearance with the tattoos and how you present yourself. I mean, everyone's got an image, right? And then you're making
You're gorgeous.
You are very gorgeous.
Oh,
and
stop. Go on. No, I'm just kidding.
Stop. Tell me more. And so,
I'm listening.
when
I'm
people,
listening.
I guess people obviously are going to judge a book by their cover. That's just like our brains are hardwired to look for shortcuts,
Absolutely.
and that's what we do. And then we get to know somebody, and sometimes it changes, and sometimes it doesn't. So, I guess where did who you are now outwardly come from? Is there this sort of like dichotomy or this struggle between you of like who am I on the inside versus how do I express myself on the outside, or how does that all play together?
I will say, like, I have experienced this a bit with branding when you're talking about branding as an actor, because I do tend to get put in a few different boxes. One, because I am what one might refer to as being like ambiguous in am I Asian? Am I am I like, what type of Asian are you? Are you half Black? Are you half Latino? How are you half, like, what is your situation going on here? And I get sometimes cast for things because of that ambiguous look that I have. And then also, and it has nothing, and sometimes I've gone through hard spells where it's like, is that the only reason why you're choosing me?
Yeah.
And that's kind of weird. That can be a little bit weird because when I think about myself, I don't think about that, and then also the tattoos. Sometimes people will lean into wanting to cast me into things where I'm like a bad guy. And I can play crazy really well, but but you're right. Like, in myself, in real life, I am like, I consider myself to be a person that is full of love and full of joy and gratitude. And I love connecting with people, and I'm not a closed off person. I am the first person in the room that will give you the biggest, deepest hug that you've ever had in your life. And but sometimes the tattoos, the initial response, just like the vaginas, is like all these judgments coming, like, about the fact that I'm like a pretty tattooed person. And sometimes, like, I don't do this as much now, but I used to cover my tattoos up a lot when I first would meet people to set a certain impression. And I would let them meet me first and get to know me for a little bit. And then I would start to show the tattoos, and then they would be like, whoa, oh my God.
Yeah.
I had no idea because in their mind, and I've literally had people tell me, like, you don't seem like somebody that would have so many tattoos.
And
I'm like, what does that even mean?
But see,
what does
I
that
get
mean?
that passing privilege as well, because I don't look, quote unquote, look like a lesbian because I'm very femme presenting.
Because people have ideas. In
and
their
of course,
head
what does a
about
lesbian
that
look like?
Yeah.
Dumb question. Nobody knows that. We all look different.
Mm-hmm.
But I have also been able to go into conversations that I would never have been able to have if they didn't assume I was a straight white girl to begin with. I'm a super white girl. But I've said, I am, before Alan asked that question, you said something, and I think it ties into the question. You said, I hope that I can get to a point where I don't have to explain, where it doesn't have to be questioned or it doesn't have to be judged that we're talking about vaginas or that I'm creating these products.
Yeah.
And I feel like it's the same thing with appearance and with tattoos. The most of the most wonderful, loving, kind-hearted people I know have tattoos.
Me too.
And it will be nice, along with so many other things, when societally we don't just decide about a person based on these things before we know anything about them. And I love that you're out here like pushing that, for lack of a better term, agenda of like, stop fucking deciding for everybody what's good or what's bad. Let's just see what happens.
Yeah, let's just be on our journey.
Yeah.
Like, let's just take our own paths. And it's okay. And this path is not any better than that path. It's just your own path. And it has merit and value just by itself.
Embrace what makes you unique.
know?
And then you will be just
Exactly.
like everybody else, which is what if you try to be like everybody else, it's not going to work. But if you try to be unique,
Nope.
then you will be accepted. Like that. God, that's the easiest thing.
And you do yourself better than anyone else can do you. So you might as well just be you. You
No
know?
one else
my
can do
kids
you
that.
like you do you.
Yes. Well, and Alan and I did the authenticity and voiceover with Deborah, and Deborah is all about that. Just like only you can be you. And just bring it. There are a lot of really great actors out there, but if you're yourself, you might be exactly what someone's looking
Absolutely.
for or needs in their life.
And people can smell bullshit, right? It doesn't feel good. We block our
Absolutely.
energy. We don't show up authentically and vulnerably, and folks know. That's why, the clients that I work with, the coaches and the entrepreneurs and the leaders that I work with, as soon as they give up the pretense, they start to find everything works. Everything falls into place.
Yeah.
Do you have any idea, Christina, like what crazy chance you want to embrace or manifest next in your life? Do you have your eye on something?
I just want to continue to grow in this path of learning more about, voiceover professionally. And I would love to work with more artists doing that. And that's my big goal right now, is to just absorb it like a sponge, everything that I can, and to just feel more confident in that, and just continue to create content. And to get more and more comfortable in myself, and to be, just being in my own skin, because it has been a long journey for me to get to this point. I have struggled so much in my life with not taking chances and not believing in myself that I can do things, and being really self-conscious about who I am, to being where I am now, which is still an everyday commitment of trying to grow, and to put myself into uncomfortable situations. But I have come such a long way, and I'm really proud of that.
You should be.
And I just, and it's not been easy. And I know that, I just posted something earlier today that is just like, the path that you're on to become the person that you want to be, you're going to be, you're going to lose people in your life. You're going to lose spaces. You're going to lose, you're going to lose certain relationships and things like that. But choose that person above everything, just fearlessly choose that person, and that is what I want. And I want to continue to not have these dualities in my life. Like, I just want to be as transparent as possible, and to just share this universe with other human beings as much as I can, in the most authentic way that I can, without fear. Push through the fear and not let the fear stop me. Right.
Yeah.
And just see where this goes. One thing that I have learned and have tried really hard to do, especially recently, is to not set my sights on any specific one thing. If this thing happens, then I'm going to be happy, but to let my joy, like my happiness and my joy go beyond any situational event, that it is not pending one specific thing happening, that I can feel that joy no matter what situation I'm in. And, and just being okay to like figure out what's going to happen next.
I love that.
Like where we're going to go now,
Yeah.
But
we need to get you some celebrity endorsements. Like, I think Reese Witherspoon needs to go on Instagram with one of your plushies.
I would love to like have the Goop feature one of my plushies.
You need a team of people making those, because your orders are gonna fall in.
Yeah, I know, that's the thing. Sometimes whenever I get like little boosts, like little ad campaigns going and things like that, I get like these huge surges in orders, and then I'm like, oh god, vaginas, and around the holidays, vaginas, and like vaginas everywhere. So and it's crazy. And then you should see the floors all over my house, just like little fuzz and fur floating everywhere all through the house. Like I have wood floors, and like the little pubic hair just like fluttering around everywhere you go, like glitter.
Pubic hair pubic hair float everywhere like glitter. Yes.
Yeah, it's really, but the holidays I have to block off like for like 2 months before Christmas time, I have to block off all this space just for like vaginas. I'm like, sorry, family. I know you want to have all these get-togethers, but I have a lot of vaginas to make right now.
That is amazing. Christina, you are amazing.
Sorry.
This has been fun. I mean, we got a little serious, but the first like 20 minutes, we couldn't even keep a straight face, but you must have a good time. Thank you so much.
I do have a good time, and I have had such a good time with you guys. You're so wonderful.
It's so nice to connect with you and meet you.
Christina, thank you. We had a blast. Thank you so much for being here.
Thank you so much. You're welcome. Thank you for having me.
I said this to you before, and I still mean it. I was very impressed with all of the things you didn't say, because I can read your mind. And I knew all of the things, and probably our listeners too. But
yes, this was a conversation that required a lot of adult self-control.
Yeah. So you can do it. That's good to know.
Yes. I can do it. Yeah.
God, she is such a joy and such a light.
Absolutely. It's funny because, when you walk into a room physically, there's some people that you're just like, oh, okay, that's the energy that I want to be around. Or there's something unconscious that you need to get to know or discover more of. And when I went in the Zoom, not the room, with Deb Sperling and her voiceover alumni, and there was immediately I was like, Christina, she wasn't doing anything, she wasn't saying anything, but it was just like the look. She had on like the crop top and I saw the tattoos, and I was like, oh, this is the energy that I need to find out more about. We were not disappointed. Just this incredible talent of person who has all this artistic integrity, and it's not like she just sat down and she's like, I'm gonna make vagina plushies. She's an art student who researched the bejesus out of this and then started making them.
And wanted to take away the stigma.
Right.
Which is so huge. And as a woman, as a mother, I think it's so valuable for, facts to be facts, for body parts to be body parts, to learn from them and to not have shame around them. I mean, gosh, on the Brave Files, on my solo show, I interview so many women who have so much shame around sex and their bodies. In the religious areas, it's so common. Mm-hmm. And the work that she's doing with these plushies really can make a tremendous difference society-wise.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know if you're going to find them stocked on the shelves in Target anytime soon, but there are some.
And I think that's okay. Yeah.
And that's okay. But you're right. Like doctors' offices and midwives and doulas and this whole line of people who to them it's normalized sexualization, the non-sexualization of body parts, because they are made for functions, and there's a time and a place to sexualize them if, of course, mutual consent, et cetera, et cetera.
You want them to be, and everybody consents. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
And but yeah, I grew up with this. Like I grew up in North Carolina in a place where you did not say these words, and you did not talk about them, and you did not touch them, and if you did, then you're a child of Satan. And it's just so incredibly refreshing to see someone who is just putting something out that is demanded so much. It's not like she's even pushing it on people. She made it. The first one as a joke, and then was like, oh crap, everybody needs these, so I'm just going to continue to make them. And it gives her her own creative fulfillment, artistic fulfillment, and helps her discover more about herself, which of course she said is vitally important.
Yeah. I absolutely love her approach of just being aware and being present and not necessarily having an end goal, but staying in the moment and embracing those chance opportunities and following her heart as they present itself. So I think so many people could be unleashed if they would embrace that in themselves.
Absolutely. Before we wrap up, we want to remind you that we want your stories. DM us, slip into our Instagram at WasItChance, and let us know how you embraced opportunity. How did you manifest your own creativity? And you can also email us where, Heather?
We are at wasitchancepodcast@gmail.com. Listen, this is our little podcast that could. Alan and I will respond to you. We promise. So send us an email. Like he said, slide into those DMs, which in the course of the interview that we just shared with you all feels like it has a whole new context, but that's okay. We are so glad to have you here. We hope that you will follow the show on your favorite podcast app and write us a review. They make us feel really good, and we have fragile egos, so if you could just make us feel really good, we would appreciate it. And most importantly, keep listening and share it with your friends. You have been listening to Was It Chance, the podcast about embracing opportunity and taking intentional risk for your creative life. Until next time, I'm Heather Vickery.
And I'm Alan Seals.
Talk to you soon.
Clown car over here at this point.
Also, then you can't hold it when you laugh that hard and you have to pee. So now I'm like, fuck, my back hurts and my legs are crossed and it's just not good.